Hello there and welcome to another Hero Arts video. It's Michelle Short here, and today I've got a fun and different way to use the Cactus fancy dies. So let's get started. I'm starting off by doing my die cutting. So I'm taking the Cactus fancy dies. This is a really great set that you can create lots of different scenes and things like that with. But today I thought I would go in a completely different direction and create kind of like a Halloween treat tag. So I haven't cut these dies apart. Sometimes I do leave sets together, but in this instance I know that I just want this one cactus, so I'm just going to cut them apart using the metal snippers. And I'm going to die cut the cactus from Kiwi cardstock. I'm then going to take the bat from the Halloween Icons set. And I'm going to die cut that from pitch black cardstock. I also know that I want to cut the whole reinforcer from this pitch black cardstock. This is from the Nesting Tags Fancy Dies. And then I also want to cut the witch hat from the Hero Lifestyle Trick or Treat die set. This is a really fun set that you can use to dress up different people for Halloween, but I thought I would use it for the cactus today, and actually the sizing of it works really well. So I'm going to hold those dies in place with some low tack tape, and then I'm also going to cut the tag die from Passion Flower cardstock. So running those through the compact cutter here. I love that all of these dies are quite small, so I can fit them through the compact cutter. I do want to cut the hat another 2 times so I can kind of create my own custom hat. So I'm cutting that from black glitter cardstock from the Glitter Paper Basics set. And then I'm also going to cut it from orange cardstock, and that is Papaya. So that's my kind of black sparkly hat, really pretty. And then I can cut it again from the Papaya cardstock. And I'm going to do a little bit of inlay with those pieces of the hat. So running those through the compact cutter, and then I can also run the tag die through as well. So I want to add some ink blending onto the cactus. So I'm taking a fresh lawn core ink and a medium ink blending brush, and I'm just going to focus the colour towards the bottom of the cactus. I could definitely leave it just as is. I think it looks nice with the colour cardstock, but I do like adding a little bit of that gradient, kind of like an ombre look, I suppose. So it's a little bit darker towards the bottom and then lighter at the top. And then to darken the colour again, I'm using Fern Core ink and a small ink blending brush. And I love having these small brushes just to add the darker colour just to certain areas of an image. So in this case, I'm kind of like going for what I'm calling her arms, and just adding that towards the sides there and then also at the bottom. And then I'm also going to add some Tangerine ink onto the sides of the witch hat. I'm actually only going to use that little band piece of the hat, but I wanted to add the ink on either side just to darken it slightly, just to make it look a little bit more rounded. So just adding that just on those outer edges. I'm then going to add the ink blending to the tag, and I am actually going to add quite a lot of layers of ink onto this tag. I'm starting off with Orchid core ink and an extra large blending brush, and this is going to get completely covered up. You're not actually going to be able to see this ink, but I did want a transition colour between this colour and the cardstock, and like all of the darker colours that I add on top. So I'm just going around the outside edges here. This is just slightly darker than that Passion Flower cardstock. I'm then going in with Amethyst core ink to darken that up again. Again, just mainly going around the outside edges. I wanted it to still be a little bit lighter in the centre. And I love these extra large blending brushes because they do give a really soft effect. I'm now going in with Grape Juice core ink, and this is definitely more of a pink toned purple, but it's just going to darken up the edges quite a bit. and that's a large brush because I know that I don't want to cover so much of an area. And then I'm going in with pitch black core ink, and this is a medium-sized blending brush, and I'm just going around the outer edges, and this is going to really darken up those edges. It's not necessarily going to read as black as such, but it does just very much darken up that purple, and you can see now that there's a lot more of a highlight in the center. So I do go back in with the Amethyst ink just to make sure that those are all blended nicely. I think it looks nice as is, but I do want to add a little bit of extra kind of interest onto it. So I'm taking a piece of non-stick craft sheet, and I'm kind of inside my splat box here, obviously not physically, but you know what I mean. And I'm going to add a little bit of pitch black inker to that, and I'm going to mix that with the water, and it's just going to slacken it slightly. It does tend to go a little bit more like a sort of paste at this point, so I do add a little bit more water into it, but I still want it to be fairly thick. I don't want it to be too loose, because I don't want the splatters to be too big. So just mixing that with a brush, and then I can bring in my tag here. I can have some of that kind of mixture that I've created on the brush, and then I can tap the brush to splatter that onto the tag. And I'm focusing most of these splatters towards the outside edges, but I still want a few in the inside just to make sure that it's kind of all covered. And I'm going in with a little bit more on the brush here just to add a couple of kind of bigger dots, again just for some more added interest. And then I'm going in here with the two-tone metallic spray, which is royal purple and gold, and some of the splatters are going to look purple and some of the splatters are going to look gold, kind of like with an outline of purple around the outside edge. This is a really fun spray. I really love the colour of it, and it's just going to add a little bit of shine and sparkle onto the tag as well. And you can see, especially at the top of the tag, where that gold is hitting the darker colour on the background, and it's just kind of really showing up really nicely. But some of the smaller splatters are just going to read as purple. I'm then going to adhere all of my pieces together so that I can add a little bit of stability onto them. The cardstock that I'm using is very thick, but because this cactus has got those kind of score lines into it, it does make it a little bit less stable. So I'm just adding another one behind, again cut from that Kiwi cardstock, and just to make sure that it's really nice and stable for when I add the foam tape on the back. For the hat, like I say, I'm going to do a little bit of inlay. So I'm taking the sparkle piece and I've cut just the top portion of that. I'm adding some glue onto the piece that I just cut from the pitch black cardstock and adding the sparkle piece on top. Using precision glue, I love using liquid glue for this type of thing, so you can kind of wiggle them in place before the glue dries. And then for this papaya piece, I'm just cutting off that band, and it's just kind of attached with two little pieces of cardstock on either side, so I can just use my scissors here and just cut those tiny little pieces off. Then I can add some glue onto the hat, and then I can pop that in place. And then I'm just going to do the same thing for the bottom of the hat, or kind of like the rim of the hat, I suppose. Just cutting those pieces down, and then I can pop that on top. And now I've got a black sparkly hat with an orange band in the centre. I'm next going to work on the sentiment, and I'm taking the Prayers Stamp and Cut set, and it's a bit of an odd sentiment set to use for this kind of application, but I just want the words that say "for you," and this was a perfect size. So I'm just taking that sentiment here and I'm just placing it in the mini misty onto a piece of pitch black cardstock. I can prep the cardstock with an anti-static powder tool. I'm going to remove the excess powder with a brush. And then, because that sentiment has got a few more words than I actually need it to be, I'm going to cover up the rest of the sentiment with a bit of post-it tape, and then I can ink up the words "for you" using clear Watermark ink. This is an embossing ink, so that it's quite sticky, so that when I stamp it down, the embossing powder is going to stick to it. So I can apply some detail white embossing powder, tap off the excess, and then I can remove any stray embossing powder with a brush. And I thought this kind of for you sentiment would work nicely for kind of like a little treat bag. I've then got my tag here that's almost completely dry, and you can see that really lovely shine and sparkle on there from that shimmer spray. I have turned my other tag over and I'm adding some tape runner adhesive onto that, and then I can have those two tags back to back. This not only is going to add a little bit of stability onto the tag, but it's also going to have a really nice kind of clean finish on the back so that I can write a personal message. I can then add the hole reinforcer at the top. I've added some thin foam tape onto the back of the cactus, and then I can pop that down in place. And then for the hat, I am adding a little bit of kind of regular thickness foam tape on the top, and then a little bit of that precision glue at the bottom. And then that's going to overhang the top of the cactus. And now she is almost like a witch. I just thought it would look really cute. So just figuring out here how far down I can place the hat, and then I can pop that in place. I've then added some thin foam tape onto the left hand side of the sentiment, just popping that down in place. And then before I add anything extra, I'm going to add some twine at the top. So feeding that through the hole there, securing that in place, and then I can tie that in a bow. I would think it would be nice to have kind of like a happy Halloween type sentiment as well on this tag, but I thought I'd just go for kind of like a generic for you one. So just fiddling around with that bow, getting it the size that I want it to be, and then I can cut off the tails with scissors. I've then got the little bat here, and I'm just kind of manipulating it so that the wings stand up, and then I can adhere that down with a bit of glue just in the center. But because I've folded that cardstock, I have got some crease marks where that cardstock is folded, which doesn't always look that nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this one down first, let that glue dry, and then I can add glue onto the back of another piece and then pop that on top, and it's just going to mold to the shape of the one below, but I don't have the crease marks in it. So just making sure that they're really well lined up and adhered together. And then I'm taking some googly eyes and I'm going to add that onto the cactus, just so that she can see what she's doing. And it kind of just makes it kind of go from spooky to cute, I think, which is definitely more my kind of Halloween. I don't actually celebrate Halloween, funnily enough, but I do quite enjoy making little Halloween makes like this. You can see that shimmer there on the background of the tag. So that is the tag completed for today. Links to the products that I used will be listed in the description bar on YouTube and also over on the Hero Arts blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.